The night was cruel, and the empty highway stretched like a ribbon of despair. A battered pickup truck roared across the asphalt before screeching to a halt. Without hesitation, a harsh voice barked, "Get out, useless mutt." The door slammed, and a medium-sized stray dog was shoved onto the cold pavement. His paws scraped against the gravel, and a sharp whimper escaped his throat. He staggered, confused, while headlights blinded his eyes. Cars roared past without slowing, their beams cutting through the darkness, indifferent to his pain. The wind carried the stench of exhaust and loneliness, pressing against his worn fur. A faint scar along his side throbbed with every shallow breath. He lifted his gaze, eyes wide with fear yet clinging to hope, as though searching for a reason not to give up. A howl, broken and hollow, pierced the night. Somewhere deep inside, the dog's spirit fought against despair, whispering a promise that his story was not over. The dog limped along the shoulder of the road, the roar of engines fading into the distance. His ears twitched at every honk, every splash of rain from tires racing past. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, but fear pressed harder. His fur, wet from drizzle, clung tightly to his ribs, revealing the toll of neglect. He sniffed at the air, desperate for a scent of food or kindness. For a moment, his gaze fixed on an old sandwich wrapper fluttering in the gutter. He nudged it with his nose, only to find emptiness. His body trembled as the cold night pressed on, yet his spirit refused to collapse. He pushed forward, step after painful step, guided only by the faint hope that somewhere in the darkness, light still waited for him. The road gave way to an abandoned lot, littered with broken glass and scraps of rusted metal. The dog moved cautiously, every paw step deliberate. His nose twitched, catching the faint scent of stale bread from a nearby trash bin. He approached, muscles tensed, ears pricked for danger. A sudden clang echoed as the wind slammed a piece of loose metal against the wall, making him flinch and retreat a step. The sound mirrored his fear, yet hunger drew him back. With trembling determination, he nudged the bin, toppling it with a loud crash. Shadows danced under flickering streetlights as he buried his muzzle into the scraps, scavenging for survival in a world that had discarded him. The dog froze as a pair of glowing eyes emerged from the shadows. A stray cat hissed, its fur bristling, guarding its claim over the meager scraps. The dog lowered his body, tail flat against the ground, signaling submission. He did not want to fight. The cat's hiss sharpened, claws scraping against the pavement. For a moment, tension hung in the air like a drawn bowstring. Then, with a soft whine, the dog backed away, surrendering the little he had hoped for. Hunger still clawed at him, but his soul chose peace over conflict. He turned his weary eyes back toward the road, searching once more for hope in the darkness. The dog padded forward until his paws touched a puddle, reflecting the pale glow of a distant streetlight. His reflection stared back, a creature scarred by cruelty, yet unbroken. His chest rose and fell, each breath shallow but steady. The sound of a far-off siren echoed through the night, carried by the wind. The dog tilted his head, ears perked, as though listening for a sign. Somewhere beyond the shadows, life continued. Warm homes, laughter, and belonging. His heart ached for it. For now, he remained alone, standing in silence, a small figure against the vast emptiness. Yet within that silence, a quiet resolve was born. He would keep walking. Dawn broke slowly, painting the sky with muted shades of gray and pink. The stray dog curled beneath a rusted bus stop bench, shivering as the chill seeped through his thin coat. His eyes blinked against the pale light, exhausted but searching. A young boy passed with his backpack slung over his shoulder, glancing at the dog with cautious curiosity. The dog lowered his head, tail curling around his body, not daring to move. The boy whispered softly, "Poor guy." Then his mother's voice called sharply, pulling him away. The dog remained still, his ears perking at the sound of kindness, even if fleeting. Hunger twisted inside him, but the warmth of that small word lingered, a reminder that not all humans were cruel. The dog lifted his head when the wind carried the smell of fresh bread from a bakery across the street. His stomach growled fiercely, urging him forward. He limped toward the shop, each step slow, determined. Outside, baskets of rolls were stacked on a wooden shelf, steam rising from their crusts. He paused, uncertain, wary of human rejection. A baker noticed him and frowned, waving a hand. "Shoo! Get away!" The sharp voice cut through the fragile hope, and the dog flinched, retreating to the shadows. His eyes lingered on the bread, heavy with longing. Hunger burned stronger, but the sting of rejection burned deeper. Still, he sat quietly, watching, hoping for one crumb to fall. A kind woman carrying groceries stopped near the corner, noticing the dog's thin frame. Her face softened, and she crouched slightly, whispering, "Hey there, boy." The dog's ears lifted, his body tense, torn between trust and fear. She gently placed a small piece of bread on the ground and stepped back. He stared, suspicious, nose twitching as the scent drifted toward him. Slowly he inched forward, paws hesitant, ready to flee at the slightest sign of danger. His teeth closed around the bread, devouring it quickly. The woman smiled faintly, her eyes filled with quiet compassion. But a passing car honked, startling him, and he bolted into the alley, heart pounding. Yet, the taste of kindness lingered. The alley led to a small playground where children's laughter filled the air. The dog lingered at the edge, watching through a chain-link fence. Swings creaked, a ball bounced, and joy radiated from every corner. For a moment, his tail lifted faintly, as if remembering a time when play was his world. A little girl pointed toward him, giggling, "Look, a puppy!" Her father quickly pulled her closer, muttering, "Stay away, it's dirty." The rejection was not cruel, but the words sliced through him. His head lowered, hope dimming. Still, he pressed his nose against the fence, watching, wishing he could belong to such laughter, if only for a moment. As twilight approached, the dog found shelter beneath a wooden bridge near the park. The soft murmur of water below lulled him into uneasy rest. His eyes half closed, he remembered the warmth of gentle hands from long ago. A faint whimper escaped his throat, torn between memory and reality. The scar on his side ached as the night chill deepened, but he curled tighter, clinging to the fragments of kindness he had felt that day. Hunger and loneliness weighed heavy, yet the spark of hope refused to die. Somewhere in his weary heart, he believed that tomorrow might bring something more than survival. The next morning, the dog staggered into a marketplace, lured by the overwhelming scent of food. His ribs pressed against his skin as he wove through bustling legs. Vendors shouted, carts rattled, and children ran past. He sniffed at a fallen apple, nudging it eagerly, but a heavy boot kicked him away. A man's angry voice barked, "Filthy mutt, get lost!" Pain shot through his side as he stumbled, yelping. No one stopped. No one cared. The crowd swallowed his cries, and he retreated toward the shadows, his stomach twisting harder. Desperation burned inside him, but so did a fragile spark of defiance. He would not give in, not yet. The dog limped into a narrow alley, where the stench of rot clung to the air. Trash cans lined the walls and rats scurried at the edges. He pawed through scraps, desperate for a morsel. His tongue brushed against a piece of meat, but a sudden growl froze him. From the shadows, two larger strays emerged, teeth bared, eyes sharp with hunger. His ears dropped, tail tucked, body trembling. He backed away slowly, but the dogs advanced, snarling. With a sharp bark, one lunged, snapping inches from his muzzle. Fear surged through him, but he turned and bolted, claws scraping against the concrete, chased by the sound of snapping jaws behind him. The chase ended when the dog darted beneath a chain-link fence, squeezing through a narrow gap. His sides scraped painfully, but freedom awaited on the other side. The larger dog snarled, jaws snapping against the metal, but could not follow. The stray collapsed onto the grass, panting hard, sides heaving. Blood stained his fur where the fence tore his skin, but he licked the wound quickly, refusing to surrender. He lifted his gaze toward the sky, streaked with clouds, and a soft whine escaped him. The world seemed merciless, but still he survived. Still, he breathed. His journey, though cruel, was not over. As evening fell, the dog limped into a vacant lot, scattered with rusting cars. He found a corner between broken crates and sank to the ground. His body ached, hunger gnawed, but his spirit refused to die. A shadow appeared, an older stray, grizzled and slow, with fur graying at the muzzle. The old dog lowered himself carefully beside him, eyes calm and knowing. No growls, no threat, only quiet acceptance. The younger dog tilted his head, unsure, but felt a faint comfort in the presence. The older dog licked his wound gently, a silent gesture of solidarity. In that moment, loneliness gave way to fragile companionship. Night fell heavy, wrapping the lot in shadows. The younger dog rested close to the old one, the first warmth he had felt in days. The older dog let out a soft sigh, head resting on his paws. The younger's eyes closed briefly, lulled by the simple comfort of not being alone. The world outside still roared with cruelty and danger, but here, in this fragile bond, he found strength. Hunger remained, pain lingered, yet the faint rhythm of companionship stirred something deep inside him. He was no longer just surviving. He was learning the value of trust, even in the harshest of worlds. Morning sunlight broke through the clouds as the younger dog stirred awake beside the older stray. His body ached, but his spirit held stronger than before. Across the lot, the sound of footsteps echoed. A shelter worker entered, clipboard in hand, scanning the area. Her eyes softened when they landed on the tan dog, his ribs visible, scar glinting in the light. She whispered, "You poor soul." For a moment he froze, torn between fear and the memory of kindness. Her presence stirred something deep inside, like a forgotten echo of belonging. His tail twitched faintly, the first spark of trust daring to return. The shelter worker crouched lower, reaching into her pocket. She tossed a piece of bread onto the ground, her voice warm. "It's okay, boy." The younger dog sniffed the air cautiously, his ears shifting back. Hunger urged him forward, but distrust held him in place. The older stray nudged him gently, a quiet push of encouragement. Slowly, the tan dog crept toward the bread, paws trembling. He snatched it quickly and retreated, chewing desperately. The woman smiled faintly, tears brimming in her eyes. She whispered, "Someone once trained you, didn't they?" Her words carried recognition, as though she saw more in him than just a stray. Later that afternoon, the shelter worker returned with a small bag. She opened it carefully and placed a leash on the ground, letting the sun glint against its metal clasp. The dog stiffened, memories flashing, hands gripping his collar, voices shouting commands. But within those memories, fragments of praise and warmth resurfaced. The woman called softly, "You've worn one before, haven't you?" His eyes locked onto the leash, fear and recognition battling inside him. Slowly, his tail gave the faintest wag. For the first time, his past was not only pain, but a glimpse of who he once was, a dog meant for loyalty, not abandonment. The woman placed the leash gently beside her and sat on the ground, crossing her legs. She did not approach, she simply waited. The dog tilted his head, confused by her stillness. No shouts, no threats, only quiet patience. The older stray lay down near her feet, signaling calm. The tan dog edged closer, one step at a time, his breathing shallow, eyes locked on hers. She whispered, "You were meant to protect, weren't you?" The words struck deep, stirring the buried memory of commands once obeyed. For a fleeting moment, he remembered pride, purpose, and love. His paw brushed the leash, not in fear, but in recognition. The sun dipped low, painting the sky with hues of orange and crimson. The shelter worker reached out her hand, palm open, steady. The dog stared, his heart pounding, caught between fear and trust. The older stray nudged him once more, eyes wise and calm. With a trembling step, he closed the gap and pressed his nose against her palm. The touch sent a shiver through him, unlocking the truth. He had been trained once, loved once, and he could be again. The woman smiled through her tears, whispering, "You're not lost. You're just waiting to be found." In that moment, his story shifted. He was no longer just a stray. He was a dog rediscovering his purpose. The shelter worker led the dog along a quiet suburban street, her hand steady on the leash. For the first time in days, he walked with purpose, though each step was tentative. The older stray followed at a distance, limping but loyal. A sudden shout shattered the calm. A man stormed from a nearby house, his voice filled with anger. "Keep that filthy mud away from here." His face twisted with rage, and he hurled a stone. It struck the ground near the dog's paws, scattering dust. The tan dog flinched but didn't retreat. His scar throbbed, a reminder of pain, yet his body stiffened with something new, defiance. The angry man stepped closer, voice rising, "Get rid of it, or I will." His hand reached for a metal rod leaning against his porch. The woman stood her ground, her voice firm. "Leave him be. He's done nothing wrong." The dog's ears perked, sensing her courage. His heart raced as the man lifted the rod threateningly. Fear flashed through him, but instinct surged stronger. He planted his paws, growling low, chest rumbling with protective force. For the first time, the stray did not run. He stood between cruelty and kindness, his body trembling but ready to fight. The man swung the rod downward, but the woman shouted, "Stop!" In a flash, the dog lunged, intercepting with teeth, snapping inches from the man's arm. Startled, he stumbled back, rod clattering against the pavement. The growl deepened, raw and unrelenting, his scarred body shielding the woman. The man cursed, retreating a step, his bravado shaken. The woman's hand tightened on the leash, but her voice softened. "It's okay, boy, I'm here." The dog's eyes flickered between rage and devotion. For the first time, his fear transformed into bravery, his loyalty burning brighter than his scars. The confrontation echoed down the street, drawing neighbors from their doors. Murmurs spread, some shocked, some sympathetic. The man retreated further, his voice sputtering. "That beast is dangerous." Yet all eyes were fixed on the dog, standing tall despite ribs showing and fur scarred. His chest heaved, his gaze unwavering. The woman spoke firmly. "He's not dangerous, he's loyal." Her words hung heavy in the air, and the dog's tail flicked once, a silent agreement. For the first time, the world saw not a stray but a guardian. The man's fury faltered, drowned by the undeniable truth. The man retreated fully, slamming his door shut, leaving only silence and watching eyes. The woman knelt beside the dog, stroking his head gently. Her voice trembled with pride. "You're brave. You're a hero." The dog leaned into her touch, his scar no longer a mark of shame but of survival. The older stray limped closer, resting quietly at their side. For the first time, the younger dog felt belonging, not imagined but real. Around them, whispers softened into respect, and the air carried something new. Hope. His journey of pain had led here, to a moment of courage that changed everything. The following morning, the woman led the dog through the gates of her modest home. The old stray followed, limping but determined to stay near. The dog's paws hesitated at the doorway, ears twitching at the unfamiliar scent of safety. Inside, soft light filled the living room, and a bowl of water waited on the floor. The woman crouched down, smiling gently. "Welcome home." His heart pounded, unsure if this was a dream. Tentatively, he stepped forward, tail giving a faint wag. For the first time, walls did not feel like confinement. They felt like protection. The dog drank deeply from the water bowl, cool relief easing his parched throat. The older stray lay down nearby, eyes closing in tired contentment. The woman set down a dish of food, her voice soft. "Eat, boy. You deserve it." At first he only sniffed, cautious, but hunger overpowered doubt. He devoured the food quickly, tail wagging harder with each bite. Tears filled the woman's eyes as she whispered, "You're safe now." For the first time in his journey, the ache of hunger gave way to comfort, and the scars of survival began to feel lighter. Later that day, the dog ventured into the backyard, nose twitching at the scent of grass and flowers. The sunlight bathed him, highlighting the scars that no longer defined him. Children's laughter spilled over the fence from the neighbor's yard. He froze, tail stiff, remembering rejection, but then a ball rolled toward him. A little boy peeked over, eyes wide with curiosity. The dog sniffed the ball, nudged it gently back. For the first time, play returned to his world. The boy smiled, clapping softly, while the dog's tail wagged with cautious joy. The weight of loneliness lifted, replaced by the fragile beginnings of trust. As evening approached, the dog curled on a soft blanket in the living room. The woman sat nearby with a book, glancing at him often. The old stray lay close, head resting on paws, sighing with comfort. The younger dog's eyes drifted shut, but his ears twitched at every sound. Still cautious, still healing. The woman whispered, "You're safe, I promise." Her words wrapped around him like warmth. For the first time in countless nights, he slept without fear of waking to cruelty. His dreams were not filled with running or hunger, but of belonging. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the scar along his side. It no longer seemed like a mark of shame, but a badge of survival. The woman knelt beside him, stroking his head softly. "You've been through so much, but you're home now." His eyes closed, leaning into her touch. The old stray stretched lazily, tail tapping the floor in quiet approval. The world outside remained harsh, but here, inside these walls, love reigned. The dog was no longer just a stray. He was family, and his story had finally found peace. The days passed, and the dog grew stronger. His fur, once dull and ragged, began to shine beneath the sun. The woman often walked him through the park, her steps steady, her voice filled with kindness. Children pointed with delight, "Look at the brave dog." The words no longer carried fear or rejection, but admiration. His tail wagged proudly as he walked, his scar no longer hidden. What once marked him as broken, now told the story of survival. He was not just a stray anymore. He was a protector, a friend, and a hero in the eyes of all who saw him. One afternoon, while the woman chatted with neighbors, the dog lay peacefully at her feet. The older stray rested nearby, enjoying the warmth of the sun. Suddenly, a child tripped and fell close to the street, a ball rolling into the path of an oncoming car. Gasps erupted, and panic filled the air. In a heartbeat, the tan dog sprang forward, his body moving faster than thought. His paws struck the pavement, and he nudged the child back to safety just as the car screeched past. The crowd froze in stunned silence. He stood tall, chest heaving, eyes calm, the hero revealed. The child clung to his mother, sobbing but safe. Neighbors rushed to surround the dog, voices trembling with awe. "He saved him," one whispered. The woman knelt, her hand trembling as she stroked his fur. "You're incredible," she murmured. The dog's tail wagged slowly, his eyes fixed on hers, filled with quiet devotion. The scar along his side caught the sunlight, gleaming like a medal earned through hardship. He was no longer invisible, no longer unwanted. He was the guardian they had all overlooked, and now no one could deny his place among them. That night, the dog lay curled on a blanket near the woman's bed. The older stray slept close by, sighing contentedly. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, but inside, warmth and safety filled the room. The woman leaned over, brushing his head gently, whispering, "Sleep well, my hero." His eyes closed slowly, his body relaxing in trust. For the first time, his dreams were not haunted by abandonment. Instead, they were filled with love, laughter, and belonging. The battles of his past had scarred him, but they had also shaped him into the guardian he was always meant to be. At dawn, the dog stood on a small hill behind the house, the rising sun painting the sky in gold and crimson. The woman watched from the porch, her heart swelling with pride. The older stray joined at her side, tail wagging weakly but happily. The tan dog lifted his head, ears pricked, chest rising with steady breath. He looked toward the horizon, no longer broken, no longer lost. His journey had been one of pain, but it ended with belonging, loyalty, and love. He was the family's protector now, their hero. And in the silence of the morning, he finally found peace.